we're cursed in the modern age with the right way to do something, you know, whether it's in recording, whether it's in how you play, whether it's in how you set something, whatever. When, you know, there once was a time that you just had what you had and you made do with it, and you experimented, or something felt comfortable or something felt right to somebody, and so you just kind of went with it. And I think that sense of exploration as a musician is really important. I moved to Nashville when I was 20 years old. I found myself in the same position as most. I didn't have a gig, I didn't have any money, and times were really tough. And so I went and I played on the street corner. This is a true story. I went and I played on the street corner and down on Broadway, and this guy knew Dave Rowe, who's a notable session bass player in town, walked by, and he said, "What are you doing?" You know, and it was the most important decision I ever made in my life, because I had a decision to make, and I remember it clear as day, where I was either going to be prideful and I was going to, like, you know, be like, "Oh man, I'm just having a good time because this is a guy I wanted to impress," you know, or I was going to be truthful. And I was so desperate and so down on my luck that I decided I would be truthful and say, okay, I'm screwed, and I don't have a place to live, and I'm about to be homeless, and yeah, to which Dave, who's kind of a funny guy, was kind of like, shit. You know? And so out of pity and pity alone, he took me in to introduce me to this guy, Don Kelly, who has had a band in Nashville for about 30 years. And me growing up mostly playing like rock music and blues music and stuff of that nature, I always loved country music, but it was way out of my jurisdiction, as it were. I, you know, spent the next couple of days basically just trying to get my hands limbered up to play fast for the first time in my life. I just was trying to, within the standpoint of what vocabulary I had, trying to figure out how I could successfully kind of manage to get through some Chickenpicking-esque type stuff on no notice, without months to kind of develop the hybrid system, which is why to this day I still don't use my middle finger, which is the traditional way to chicken pick, because I didn't have time. I did not have time. I had a gig on the line and I had to figure out how to do it immediately. And so the way that I chicken pick generally is I mute with the palm of my hand, and that's about it. That kind of thing. And so that's what I developed over years then. So I went in, and I know I played like shit, I'm sure I did, but I went in there, and Don, he just kept throwing song after song that I didn't know at me, and I just was treading water, and I was just like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go home, this is not gonna work. But thankfully, you know, he said, you know, he thought I did okay, and he started using me as a sub, and then I eventually wound up in his band. Being able to chicken pick, as it were, without using my finger, being able to do that was, you know, if I hadn't kind of found that and been able to do it, I wouldn't be here right now, you know? And so I think it's really important to sit with your instrument, and if there's a certain way that something feels comfortable to you to do, whether how you grip, whether how you vibrato, how you bend strings, you know, it should start with what feels natural to you, you know? Because, you know, for God's sake, you know, if somebody was trying to teach Albert King how to play, he would have said, you got that thing strung wrong, because he played left-handed, but he didn't restring it. So, you know, the light strings were on top, and that based his whole style, you know? And so I think that's just something that I experienced in that little bit that completely changed the way I play that kind of style. And you know, luckily I didn't have someone there to correct me. Otherwise I would have been out of a gig quick.